Hi, everyone. Thank you, and welcome back to another episode of What She Said. Today, we have the honor of having Tasha Pitchford.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tasha Pitchford. I am a breakthrough coach for Next Level Coaching, and I go by Tasha, your breakthrough coach, where I help women who are struggling and stuck in fear. They're stuck in their lives at some point. I help them pull back the layers and move forward in their dreams and their goals and their desires.
Okay, so that is a great start. And today, guys, we're talking about mental health. So, of course, lately there have been a lot of talk about mental health in the Black community as well as with women. But as women, this is like nothing new. We have been dealing with mental health for a long time, and it has been overlooked, whether it be postpartum or just simple stress of daily life. So, how do you feel we are misrepresented in the media when it comes to mental health?
Well, when it comes to mental health for Black women, I think historically, right, we've always been taught to be strong, to be a strong Black woman. And what does that really mean? Taking on all the burdens of everybody, whether it's your children, if you're a wife, all the responsibility of the household. Yeah. Don't mention if you're taking care of aging parents and play cousins.
Right.
Everybody becomes family, and you take on all these burdens, all these cares, but we don't stop to say, you know what, I can't handle that. And if you stop to say, I'm tired or I can't handle it, you're looked at as if you're weak in the Black community. I can share a personal story. Like I'm the youngest of 3 older siblings, but we were raised with 3 family members, 2 cousins, like 3 cousins. So it was 7 of us in the house. I was the youngest, so I was the weakest.
Yeah.
Why? Because I showed my emotion.
Oh, okay.
And as I got older, I always had healthy boundaries around, especially when I had kids. They go to bed at a certain time. I can't do that for you. So then that causes friction in the family. I'm known as I was known as selfish. Well, you know, Tasha's just selfish. So we get that label, right?
Yeah.
Because we put the boundaries down.
Boundaries are needed. Boundaries are needed.
Healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And when you tie it into mental health, if you don't have healthy boundaries, now we can put boundaries up, but sometimes it's to protect us.
Right. Okay.
And guard us when they're unhealthy boundaries, which means you still haven't processed that trauma in your life.
Yeah. Okay.
When it's unhealthy boundaries. But when they're healthy boundaries, you're just simply stating, here's the line, don't go past here.
Now, is that usually like a personal preference? Because I mean, of course, you know your own breaking point. But how, as women or individuals, can we identify when we're on that cusp of needing a healthy boundary?
When you're feeling frustrated a lot, somebody asks you to do something, you say yes, but in your heart and your mind is saying no.
Yeah.
No is a complete sentence. You don't even need a reason.
Right. And see, I've never seen why people always say, but why? You wanting a why is your personal, something for your personal desire. I'm not required to give you a why. Me saying no is an answer.
It's an answer.
Me giving you no explanation is my answer. So I can, once I found the power of no, no is my best friend. Like exactly. I say no, I wear it on my shirt. I'll put it on some sunglasses. No.
Yes.
And I just keep it moving. I've already protected my energy at that point. So how effective is the word no, or has it been for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. I call myself the no queen. Because I am a natural nurturer.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. You have to be self-aware and know who you are inside. So I found once I discover, oh, you're a natural nurturer. You want everybody to be okay. You want to be there for everybody because it's natural for me. But it wasn't serving me well because I was exhausted. That's how you know you need some no's in your life. I was frustrated. I was starting to feel taken advantage of. I was starting to feel used, which told me, wait, something's not right here. Something's not aligned. What you're saying out of your mouth and your actions are not aligned to what's going on with your heart and your mind. And so I started slowly creating healthy boundaries with no matter who it was. of what I wasn't, even if you're toxic. If I don't want to have that conversation with you, I'm not having that conversation with you. And if there's a conversation needed, I'm going to tell you how the conversation should go.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about X, Y, Z and how to move forward, I can't entertain this.
Now, I know it's difficult to set boundaries with family, especially with your spouse. So a lot of us, like me, I'm not married. So me at the age I am, I've set my boundaries and I'm like sticking to it. And so the dating game has become, because I'm like, I don't really want to. This is not what I'm comfortable with. And so once you reach what you're not comfortable with, it's over with. So what suggestions do you have, or what have you experienced in like your relationship on how to create those boundaries or keep yourself, your mental health or your sanity intact when dealing with another person?
That's a good question, Coffe. No. Okay, so I've been out of the dating game for this year be 20 years.
Woo, congrats.
Thank you. And when I say you got to keep your mental health in marriage, you got to keep your mental health, because as women, we grow. We're always changing. 20s, you were one person, 30s, you're a different person. I'm on my way to almost 50. And I'm like, good. Girl, who are you becoming? So my husband, they go a little slower still as adults. It's all in communication.
Okay.
It's all in communicating. If you need outside help, I'm not opposed to a therapist, a counselor, to keep your relationship solid.
Okay.
Because you have to, for me, what I do is I communicate every stage to my husband. There was a time that, when we first got married, Snickers and Pepsi was my favorite thing. And this is something small, right?
Yeah.
But as I grow, I don't want a Snicker and a Pepsi anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that. Let me show you what kind of chocolate I want now. I want new experiences. And you just have to keep communicating it. And what you're communicating also should line up with who you are.
Okay.
So making sure those two are one, that's so important, that alignment. So as dating, as you put your healthy boundaries down, kudos for you. Because that tells me that you're embracing all of who you are and loving all of who you are. And you want to present that complete package to someone, and you'll attract that person.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So don't give up, girl. Don't give up, because you want to give your whole you to whoever you're going to be with.
Now, of course, we have our stereotypes, and that causes our mental health not to be balanced as well. Women are said to have to be feminine, or men not to be as vulnerable. And we see that our men are not dealing with maybe things from their past that they weren't able to deal with. And now therapy is not a thing. They still don't want to enter into this phase of therapy. So what suggestions will you have for like men to try to embrace this vulnerable side, or realize it's okay to be the feminine counterpart of a relationship and still have, a heterosexual relationship? Because I feel like sometimes you kind of question your sexuality if you're not the typical, and then you're dealing with other mental health issues that you may have. So how can they kind of get through those things if they're hesitant on going to therapy?
Well, if you I guess
I know it's a lot. Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot, because I'm thinking sexuality.
Well, yeah, because you're tugging on your identity, I would say. So how does the form of you having your identity affected with your mental health?
I think, for one, identity is a good place to start. You have to start with, who are you? How do you find out who you are? The things you like, the things you value.
Okay.
So it's a lot of undoing all of what you've been told and shown that you should be as a man. And if you got that woman who you like, man, I really want to be with this woman, I'm sure she'll support you as you journey on. Because I don't think your emotional, intelligence should equate with your sexuality.
Yes. It's kind of portrayed that way, though.
It is.
It gets confusing when somebody's trying to identify or be sympathetic to someone who truly knows who they are. So, you battle with those debates all the time, because I've been in them, and it's like, well, I think they know who they are. And you hear those you know, you hear people have those typical stereotypes about it. It's like, I don't think you should call him that. He's just a feminine man. I don't, you know, he's telling you he's in a heterosexual relationship. So I see that constantly when it comes to our men. So that's why I mean, how can they kind of, I know that has to weigh heavy on their mental health.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does especially if they're a more expressive man. But Coffe, think about it. When you've been in a relationship in the past,
right,
that's the main thing we want them to do. Talk, express yourself.
Right, when they do.
But sometimes that stereotype, when they do, oh, you acting like a girl. What?
Right.
And it's like, what does that mean?
Like, girl, he's crying more than me. I don't know what to do.
Now, he cried more than you. Now, he may need to go get some stability, but make sure you can be that woman to support him.
But sometimes, you know, people open up more to other people. And I found that even in my friendships, people have no problem being transparent because I have a no judgment zone.
Okay.
So I try not to take on their weight because I've set my healthy boundary. But before in the past, I realized that I attach my my sympathy to them, or I let them attach their problems to me. And now I am exhausted and I have no actual problems of my own at that time. Yeah. So how can someone kind of still be there for someone without taking on the weight?
If your plate's already full and you don't have room for anymore, what I normally do is if I know, okay, this week I cannot take on anything else, I reach out to the person and I'm like, hey, can we set a schedule for next week? Can I schedule something in to talk to you when I can be more attentive to what your needs are at that point? And I may attach, I believe in the power of prayer, like I am praying for you. And I might even put a prayer in the text. Because guess what? This is my famous saying, God never sleeps nor slumbers. I am not God. Right. That is their child. And I just have to know that he will take care of them. Because guess what?
Carry all of that weight, or you can't dump it on somebody either. Like we've come to say, even like my group of friends, can you handle what I got to tell you today?
That's good. Like, that is a good question.
Because, you know, sometimes you just like, I don't really know what they're going through, but you got to release as well. So you like, you know, can you handle a conversation today? If not, that's fine. I can talk to myself sitting in the car. I have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
But, I just need an ear right now. So how can you
carry the guilt?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people feel guilty for saying, I can't talk right now.
Yeah. Or they try to dodge. They might try to dodge you because they like, oh, she's dealing with problems.
Yeah.
Now, have you even found with having, maybe you have a group of girl friends, that you have that one that seems to, like, I call it like a mental block, but they seem to live in this misery zone. And anything that good happens is not good to them. On the outside looking in, you're like, oh, that's good, you know? You made a breakthrough, but they find a way to just want to stay hovering in this negativity zone, or this zone of misery. Do you feel like that has anything to do with their mental health, or is this just the characteristic of that particular person?
Well, it depends on their background. So mental health, you have the factors that contribute to that. Is it trauma from past experiences?
Okay.
You know, is it a biological thing? Maybe there's mental health issues in their family. Is it, you know, just so it could be anything going on with them. So you have to identify it. And I know we hate to leave them, but as you grow and you've tried to help and they're not getting a counselor, they're not getting a therapist. They just kind of want to stay in those, because you know what? Your experiences that you stay in, they're either going to serve you as a positive or negative.
Got it. Okay.
Because if we get comfortable getting the attention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any attention is attention, whether it's good or bad. If we get the attention. I have a friend who just went through stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Ooh.
When I tell you her perspective and her positive outlook was absolutely amazing through this. We were together last week and I'm like, girl, we were laughing. I said, you know, you could have got a lot of attention for this. You know, you automatically want to,
Yeah, I get
But
it.
she was like, I'm not here for it.
Mm-hmm.
And in 6 months, she was done with chemo.
Yeah, because she wasn't here for it. She wasn't trying to live in that space.
She wasn't living in that space when she had all of the reason to. The
Mm-hmm.
doctors were amazed. And that showed your outlook is everything. The brain is a muscle.
Yeah.
So if you're used to living in that trauma and that experience of what you've gone through, what I've learned is a lot of times we go through things and we may come out of it, but we never learn to thrive after we come out
Right.
of it.
Got it.
We're
Okay.
stuck in that mental space of just survival,
Yes.
right?
So how do you get out of survival mode? Because you even talked about our history. A lot of us may not, I mean, I know my parents and I'm big on knowing where they came from and my lineage, but I have a lot of associates and friends that know nothing about their family. Nothing. They don't know like the great grandparents. They have no idea any of their father's side. So if anything's hereditary, they don't even look for it. I have no idea, because maybe back in the day people would say, that's just how Jimmy was, but Jimmy could have been crazy. You know what I'm saying? So he could have really had other issues going on, and people just say, oh, he's always was like this. And that's just a line we love to say. So how can we find out? Are there ways to find out if we have, hereditary mental issues, so we can stay out of that zone,
cycle? Even if you don't know anybody, you live with yourself. I believe your body, your heart, your mind, your spirit, it sends that red flag, like something's off. You got to listen to it. You have to listen to it. And then ask trusted people around you.
You really want to know.
Right.
Like I'm doing living in that survival mode. And I found even when I was dealing with anxiety and depression that survival mode didn't help. It was like trigger after trigger after trigger, where it was like, am I gonna have to just smack everybody I run into today? Like my anxiety came with aggression, became with isolation, because I was like, I just can't deal. If one more person say something that just seemed left field today, I don't know where it's gonna take me. I'm not in the mood for blackout moment. So I would just say, I can't go. And people would just think, oh, she never wants to go anywhere she's invited to. She doesn't want to do this. Well, I have no idea when my anxiety is going to creep up. I have no idea when my tolerance and my patience are tied to these things. So I just, I'm going to just do what I need to do to survive and keep going. And so that's not a good space to live in. Right. But you don't know the tools once you're in it to get out of it. So how can you get out of that isolation mode, or just say, like you said, you have to listen to yourself, but how do you get out of isolation for anybody even recognize that this is an issue that you're going through?
Talk to one of your trusted friends, and hopefully they'll send you to a therapist or a counselor. I highly recommend therapists or counselors, because like I said earlier, we are told that we have to be strong, right?
All the time.
But what happens when your strong is not working? I just recommended somebody go, and she is one of the strongest women I know, resilient. She's been through so much, and she's like, "But I'm doing good." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're doing good outwardly. Inwardly, how are you doing? How are you coping?" Because she's trying to do some new things, and she's like, "I'm just stuck." I'm like, because there's trauma that sit in our bodies.
Okay, got it.
So even though you've gone past that experience, that trauma could still be sitting there. And when you go to try something new or do something new, it comes up. You don't know it's coming up.
Nope.
You don't know. You just know you
come up like it's something you ate bad. It's like, like, what is this? What is going on?
And in the past, that served you well. It may have served you well in the past.
Okay.
But if you're trying to thrive and move forward, it doesn't serve you well. So she finally was like, okay, I'm going to go to a therapist. And she called me like, I wish I would have done this years ago. He was like, this is so good.
Now, we do have an issue in the I would say Black community on finding therapists that can relate.
Yes.
So I've been to therapy. My children have been to therapy, and it's always hit or miss. You never know. And like even being in the school system, anything that we do can be characterized as having an issue, but this is just culturally how we're raised or our reaction to things. So we can't live in an isolated world. We're in a blended society. That's just point blank period. So how can you find, if you can't find that one therapist? Because I've had a friend that has been to several therapists, she says, and each time she said, I'm just sick of retelling my story. So she's given up on therapy, but clearly she really needs to go back. So it's just like with the health system, we become so hesitant because of our past experiences with going to the hospital, going to therapy. So should we encourage more people of color to become therapists? How can we find these places?
We got Google now.
Right.
Back in my day, it was a Dewey Decimal System. The card catalog where you had to pull out the things and look.
Pull out your phone. Pull it out. Pull it out.
How bad do you really want to get free of this trauma? Because, we really want something, we're going to do it.
Okay.
So you have to be just like at the hospitals, when you go to the doctor, you have to be your own advocate.
Got it.
Maybe get you some questions together to ask the therapist when you first, know what you need in a therapist. Maybe lead with that. And if that's not the person, keep looking. Because when we want to pay
getting doctor recommendations, because I've always asked my primary doctor, which is a Black female, who she knows that I can go to, and she always directs me in the right place. But I tell any friend I have, when they say, "Oh, I gotta go to the doctor for this," I tell them, please, as many questions as you ask me on the phone, please ask your doctor the same questions.
Yes,
they work for you.
Yes.
You're not in trouble when you go to the doctor. You find people just sitting there like, I don't know, I didn't tell them anything. You're at the doctor's office.
Exactly. What'd you go for?
You come home and ask me. I'm not a doctor.
You have to advocate.
WebMD you have on my phone. I don't know. And so my doctors just, when they see me coming in, like, I don't care. I got a grocery list of questions before I leave here because it took me 2 months to get in here.
To get in.
Yeah. So you need to answer everything going forward so I can kind of help myself throughout this time before I have another visit.
Exactly.
So definitely communication with relationships, friendships, and with your healthcare provider, just to get some mental health issues. What do you think is a good thing for us to go for as a community on facing this mental health pandemic? I would say, because we're coming out of complete isolation for almost 2 years, it feels like. Yeah. And now you're asking us to go back to norm when that norm isn't there. I tried it.
Did you?
I tried that like it was a normal situation. I'm like, it don't even feel right. This air is not the air I once saw. So think prices on everything has doubled. You're going out into society that no longer exists. Even the warmth of the air feels different. I don't know. It's a weird spot. And then I'm a person that's in media. So just the world alone of being an entrepreneur isn't the same. So what are some exercises or some things we can identify and go forward in mental health in this new world that we're living in?
Like you just did, talk about it. Be honest about where you are with it. Like you said, you tried it. It's not the same. Get other people. I've been okay, actually.
Okay.
I don't even know why. I keep asking myself that. Now I keep questioning myself.
Questioning why you're okay with it.
Yeah, because I'm like, should I not be okay with this? Am I still cautious? Yes.
Yes, always.
Yeah, I'm still cautious. My daughter's at Six Flags today, and I'm like, oh, how's that experience going to be? Should I send her with wipes to wipe down the seats? Like, you don't know what to do.
That's gonna be a lot of wiping.
Right. So there's an element.
Get on the ride.
There's an element of faith for me, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I just have to have faith in God that we're gonna be okay.
Got it. Okay.
Even when we're not okay, we're still gonna be okay.
We have to be.
Yeah. You gain strength from what we've gone through.
Okay.
We've lived through history. Feel
Yeah.
that feels, I mean, you can take that as a positive experience, you know.
I've even had this conversation because we went from like being a percentage of a millennials to exennials, my little age bracket.
Okay.
And so we've been through economic crashes, 9/11, this pandemic, and it's like every 5 years we're dealing with this phase that changes our whole lifestyle, and we're just forced to adjust because we're in that age where now we have children that are old enough to work and have their own, and then we're taking care of our parents. So we're stuck in that little area zone, and it's like, will we ever be okay? It's like I feel like we're in a ping pong table sometimes, or even like what is that little ball machine where you binging around, and it's like, yeah, as soon as we get comfortable with being here, it's like, boom, nope, got a trick for you, something else is happening, and we're constantly pivoting just to survive. And so I always encourage people in my age bracket to get help, because we went from no phones, house phones, cell phones. A lot of people didn't get to the computer age because they didn't need it, and now they're trying to catch up because everyone has a phone in their hand.
Yes.
And so I'm even constantly teaching classes on people to check their email. And I'm like, hasn't email been around a long time? I don't.
People don't stay current. You have to stay current.
Yeah, and that itself is mentally draining.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted just getting my news, because like, where's the newspaper? Then the newspaper said, oh, we don't deliver on these days anymore. I'm like, okay, I don't have a newspaper, so let me check my phone. My phone is up to date. And then I'm on 5 news channels that are talking about influencers and not the news.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm looking for good content, good news, things to keep me sane. But it's usually my norm, and I'm finding like fluff.
The world is changing.
Yes.
The world is, I look at it all the time because I think I'm older than you.
Probably by a little.
But mid-40s, where you at?
I will be 40 in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll be 48 next week. So I'm at least 8 years older than you. And I just sit back and I look around and I'm like, wow, this is exciting. So I try to take it as a positive.
Yeah.
And the one thing that keeps me going is I ask, after I get excited at everything's changing, where can I make an impact?
Got it. Okay.
So that's the next question that I ask. Where can I make an impact to sprinkle a little legacy, whatever I have to offer, in those who are coming behind me? So in me gravitating toward the younger generation to pour into them, I also ask them, pour back into me. What is it that I can learn from your generation that can help me? So now I can reach back to those older than me and say, guess what I learned today? Let me give it to them. So it's like
Tasha is teaching all generations, okay?
All generations. I'm here for all of it. All of it. Because what we want to leave an impact.
Yes.
You know, like,
schools about helping ourselves mentally, because we're raising generations that need to know how to cope with these things.
Absolutely. Like, you have kids, we talked about earlier mental health in women. I have a daughter. I have to teach her. She's 16, but when I tell you her no game is strong for 16, it is strong.
No.
And I love it. I'm here for it. Like, I give her the space, you choose. And I'm like, what you gonna say? I'm always interested to say, even if it's her best friends.
Right.
She has 2 best friends. They've been friends since Pampers and pacifiers. If she's tired and had enough and they call randomly and say, oh, we're going XYZ. She's like, no, I can't go. I'm tired. And I'm like, you 16, go. But she's
like, no.
She won't do it. She will not do it. And I love it, because at 16, I would have been like, okay, let me just get up and get ready, whether I wanted to do it or not, because it's like, oh, those are my friends. Yeah. You give those allowances. But because I have been pouring into her and teaching her and showing her by example, if your no is no, because she is an introvert, which I had to teach her about that. Yeah. You get your energy from being alone. If you don't have it, you wear yourself out and you get exhausted. And so she's experienced it a few times. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. She has a meltdown. I'm like, well, you did this, this, and this. And now she knows, okay, now she's even learning how to schedule things now. Okay, I can't do that on that day because these 2 days I'm going to be out and I know I'm going to need some energy.
Protecting her energy, right?
I love it because who knows this at 16? Exactly. Wore our little selves out.
Walk around with one sock on, you be so tired.
Exhausted. But she's
like, where did I
go? So we have to leave that impact. We have to be intentional about teaching the next generations and learning from the next generations.
So on what she said, we like to ask each guest to leave us with their favorite quotes. So do you have a favorite quote that you go by or live by or that inspires you every day?
I don't know, because I'm always changing and moving. And
what's your most recent one that has brought you through?
Recently, what I've been focusing on is not necessarily a quote, but it's something that just recently I've been kind of focusing on.
Okay.
Learn to be in my higher self and not just do in my higher self. Okay.
So we're going to make that a Tasha quote.
That's a Tasha quote. It's a Tasha-ism.
It's original Tasha-ism.
Yes, because we could, when we're growing and coming out of surviving, as we talked about, we're moving into thriving. That's a whole mindset shift, first of all.
Okay.
And you have to show up every day and be intentional in every little thing in your higher self. And when I say higher self, is just being who God created you to be, right?
Okay.
He created our bodies to heal. If we are sick or feeling some kind of sickness, okay, Tasha, your lower self would say, oh, just settle into it. You're getting older.
Yeah.
Right? Higher self says, Tasha, go to bed at night on time. Right?
Okay.
Get up at a decent time, establish a morning routine and stick to it.
The higher self is making you become accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
how can others find you so they can learn more about this thriving? What your social media handles or your website?
My website is TashaPitchford.com. Okay. My social media, Facebook is Next Level Coaching, and Instagram is Tasha Your Breakthrough Coach.
Okay, yeah. So we're so excited that we got to share this conversation on mental health with Miss Tasha. So you guys make sure you follow her, get her to coach you so you can thrive instead of survive, because it's much needed going into this 2022. I can't believe it's 2022.
I know.
Headed towards there, be ready, and make sure that you have those tools because it is important. Do you have anything else you want to let our listeners or our viewers know today?
Just get excited about your 2022, right? All is not lost because of 2020. We've gained so much. So focus on what you gained instead of what you lost and build on that.
Okay.
Yeah.